Hi there folks. So it's been quite a while from my last video, and the reason to that is not because I was lazy or something or I didn't have time, but some of you might already know that I have been changing my molds because I wasn't really satisfied with the quality of the fishes I was producing. So the reason I wasn't making any videos because there was pretty much nothing to talk about, and there was no reason to make any videos because my molds were at the tool maker, and tool maker was changing those molds, so I wasn't really working at all here, wasn't really producing anything. So that is the main reason why. But I just got my tools back again. It was, I think, Thursday or Friday I got them back. So I already installed them in the machines. So here's the small mold here. It's already installed, and the big one is installed as well right here. So I can't really remember if I was really explaining what the changes on the fishes would be, but I'm going to show you very quick. Let's just start up this small machine here. So the small mold. On the small mold, I'm going to show you these inner parts I'm producing on the small mold. This one here. So on the small mold, as you might remember, I had issues with the fishes breaking very easily. And the reason to that was it was because I was using polypropylene for these inner parts, and the polypropylene was also, it was 30% glass filled, and because it was glass filled, these parts were very brittle, so they were actually breaking. Just wait a sec, I'm going to put my GoPro on the stand so it can stand on its own, so I can show you. Yeah. So the polypropylene was 30% glass filled, which made those inner parts very brittle. They were breaking, like, if you do like this, they would just break. Well, this one doesn't break because this is ordinary polypropylene, but before they were breaking. I'm just going to show you real quick. This is the fishes. This is the fish I was producing before with this polypropylene 30% glass filled inside. So you can see here, if I start bending it, it's just breaking. So that's no good. And because of that, I really wanted to change the molds in order to be able to use ordinary polypropylene like this one, so it doesn't, the inner part does not break. But if I started using ordinary polypropylene, this part would be too easy to flex. So when you put the chopsticks, it could not really hold the chopsticks. Well, there will be not enough of spring back effect, and yeah, the fish would not really help you using the chopsticks. So and I decided to change the mold and make this middle bone here, you can see here, is a lot thicker than it was before. Well, not a lot, but it's 2 times thicker than it was before. And that is the only change I have done on the small mold. I made this middle bone thicker because now I'm using ordinary polypropylene, and then this middle bone will give just right amount of spring back effect. I'm going to show you real quick. So when I'm putting chopsticks in between, right, like we normally do, well, these parts just came out of the machine, so the material is not really crystallized yet, but normally it takes around 1 day for the material to shrink and crystallize as it should be, and then the rigidity will be as it should be, and yeah, it will just be better. Well, now it is, although it just came out of the machine like 5 minutes ago, but it still has the right amount of spring back effect. I can show you also some. This is the new fish here. It was produced, I think, Thursday. Well, the same day I received the molds, and this is much more rigid right now than those inner parts that I have. It has much more spring back effect in it, so they're just perfect to use, and I'm really happy about that. So, and this is, by the way, the new fish. Yeah, let's go on to the second mold. I'm going to explain. Well, this is what was made on the small mold. Just this middle bone was well, now it became 2 times thicker than it was before. Now I'm using ordinary polypropylene without any glass filament inside. And what they had to do, they had to cut on the front side of the mold these middle cuts here. This one here, that one there, well, that one there, and this one here. They were not there before, so it was just flat metal here. So they had to cut it 1.5 millimeters here on those, well, 4 cuts there. And then these cuts that were here in the middle, they were here before for the middle bone, but now they have cut them 1.5 millimeters deeper. So generally, this middle bone here was 3 millimeters of a thickness. Now it is 6 millimeters. So I had to make it 1.5 millimeters thicker from both sides. So, and that is the only change they have done on the small mold. The big mold was a little bit more tricky. Before, if I was injecting plastic too slow, I had an issue with material flowing in this area here. You can see it started like bubbling. It's because this inner part is sitting very, very close to the surface here, like that, like in here. When the TPE is flowing through it, it crystallizes very fast. You can see it actually here. It starts flowing through here, crystallizes very fast, and then it starts like going bubbling, and because it's becoming rigid already and not liquidous, it cannot pass through it, and then it's, yeah, then it just started going like in layers, so to speak. And yeah, there was a lot of different kinds of issues with this one. For example, also I didn't really like the surface. When you hold it in your hands, it feels like very, very rubber-like, and it's very sticky. Whereas now, what I have done on the big mold, I have, first of all, just a second. First of all, this middle bone here, you can see it's like thin here, thick here, thin all the way here, and then thick again, and then thin again. What I have done now, I have made this bone more like uniform here, and it's better for TPE to flow that way. So it's not like the section area is always constant here. Well, let's say more or less constant. It's going, of course, smaller here because there's inner part is sitting in here and then here, but still it gives a better flow over the fish. And then another change that was done, they have made a surface finish in the cavities. So now the cavities are sandblasted. Although I wouldn't really say that it really gave that much of a well, I wouldn't say the fish became much better because of that, but I think reason to that is because, first of all, I'm using maybe too hard of a TPE. I'm using Shore 60, and I'm thinking about trying Shore 30 in the fishes, because they are quite more like more rigid, so to speak, than they were when I was producing them in China from silicone. So I really want to try the Shore 30, and maybe with Shore 30 I'll get a little bit better of a surface finish because it's a softer material, and then maybe it will fill in the cavity better. But I'm quite surprised that that before I really had some issues with the material shrinking, like in the fish head, because the fish head is quite big, and when material is solidifying, it's shrinking towards the center of the fish head, and then making this kind of a yeah, the material is going like inside it. Can you see the surface is not really flat here, whereas on the new fishes it's like more flat, and I'm thinking it's because of material flow is better in this case, and I'm actually able to slow down the injection itself, and because the injection is slower, I can decrease this effect of material shrinking. So, and another thing that the toolmaker is supposed to do is to remove the tool marks from the fish. Like, you can really see those circles and rectangles here, but I wouldn't really say they have done a good job. You still can see them, of course, and the problem is that actually, well, they have glass blasted the cavities, but they haven't sandblasted the ejector pins. I would say it's like a rookie's mistake, because, well, Toolmaker is quite professional company. Just a sec, I'll turn on the machine and open the mold so you can see the cavities. I don't know how easy it will be to see for you. Just a sec, I'll take my phone and use it as a flashlight. So yeah. But it is possible to see that the cavities are glass blasted. They are kind of a rough, but you can still see the ejector pins. And I also been asking for a toolmaker to adjust the height of the ejector pins, but I don't really think they have done that, because you can clearly see the ejector pins, and they didn't become any better at all. And of course, the worst thing is that they haven't sandblasted them, so the surface on the cavity is actually different from the surface on the ejector pins, which is, I would say, totally nonsense. In my understanding, especially for the money I have paid for doing those changes. I'm pretty sure it's pretty interesting how much I pay for that, and I would say it's like a robbery, because, well, I paid 3,500 euros for these changes. Quite a lot. It's almost half of the price of the molds themselves. So yeah. It's quite a lot, especially, yeah. But then again, I wanted it to be done in the right way. I didn't want to pay less for some company who would say yes, we can do that, but end up doing the job pretty bad. So I wanted to be on the safe side, because I was just, yeah, I just want to do it the right way. But we'll see about the materials, because I'm really planning to try, as I said, the Shore 30 instead of Shore 60 to see what will happen. And another thing what I'm experiencing right now, because before these parts were thinner here, it was actually much easier to insert them into the mold. Now it became a little bit harder to insert them, but of course still possible. But yeah. I made a new plate for inserting them, but apparently somehow this plate is actually a little bit harder to use, because these things are getting stuck inside of it when I'm trying to pull this thing back. And it's probably because now I have to apply even more force to put these things into the place, into the mold. Yeah, but this is something I guess I have to live with for at the moment. And yeah, try to produce as much as I can with the configuration what I have today, and then we'll see. But I really want to try the Shore 30 and see what the results will be. Another thing what I've been reading about the difference between silicone and TP is that silicone is more like a matte material, whereas TP has more gloss in it. And I can really see it, because reason I was making the surface in the cavities, well, sandblasting it, because I really wanted to get rid of this glossiness. But it's still there. It's not as bad as it was. It feels, I would say, a little bit better in the hands, but still the glossiness and the sticky feeling is still there. So, but the problem is I cannot use silicone with this machine. I would really love to, but I can't. Silicone is a totally different process. Silicone is vulcanized inside the molds, meaning that the molds are heated up. Whereas in this machine, I don't heat up the mold, I heat up the plastic. So, but there is one special kind of material, it's called TPS, thermoplastic silicone. And I did a little bit of research about it, and it looks like there's only one company who's producing it. And I will try to get some samples of this material to try injecting it with this machine. And it looks like it's more of a silicone-like material, but I guess I just have to try it, and then we'll see we'll see about it. But I guess that material is very expensive. But then again, I just wrote to the company who's supplying the material, and then we'll see if I'll be able to get any samples for free or at least cheap, and then see what the end price will be. So I think that's it for now. I've produced some small, well, very little of inner parts, and I'm going to try to adjust the machine, play around with some settings again. And I think next week I'm going to receive more material for the inner parts, because now I pretty much ran out of it. So yeah. And then maybe I'll try to use, well, I have been asking for another kind of polypropylene with the talc field, which will actually now, although they don't break, as you can see, it doesn't break. Oh, and by the way, the fish, it does not break, so it actually stays there. You can even put it back. Of course, now it is plastically deformed, which makes this fish, let's say, you cannot really use it that much anymore. Still, you can, of course, but it's like it does not hold the chopsticks as it was initially. But at least it does not break, so it can still be on your keychain, and you can still use it, for wrapping your headphones around it and that kind of stuff. And but I will try to order another kind of polypropylene with talc filled or mineral filament. What that will do is that will keep the same amount of flexural modulus, about 2 gigapascal. This time I need 2 gigapascal. And then that will hopefully increase the amount of elongation before going into plastical deformation, meaning that I'll be able to bend this more and then retain this part back without being damaged in here. So it will be more flexible before actually damaging the part, so that you cannot use it anymore. And we'll see if I can get that kind of materials, because now here this material has about, let's say, 6% of elongation before breaking, well, before going to plastical deformation. And then I really want to increase that number up to 30 or even higher if the materials like that even exist. I don't know. I did a little bit of research, but then I found that there are some materials that have 30 or 50% of elongation before going into plastical deformation. I mean, the polypropylene. There are, of course, other materials like nylon, polycarbonate. They have huge amount of elongation before going into plastical deformation, but I cannot use those kind of materials like nylon and polycarbonate because TP does not bond to them. So that's a big of a challenge, so to speak. But this is something I have to live with, and just try to experiment more and hopefully produce some more fishes for orders. Oh, and by the way, I think I solved a problem with packaging. Well, did not solve it yet, but I found a guy who could actually do the packaging for me. He has the machine. Of course, I'll have to pay something for doing that, and I have to order the packages. But at least that's a temporary solution I will have until I get my own machine. And then I actually found one machine supplier. Machines, they look very simple, and they're quite small. So I really hope that the prices are not that high, because normally the machines like that would cost like 10, 15, 20,000 euros. Although they're not big and not like that crazy industrial, but still they cost a lot of money. But those machines I found now, they might be a little bit cheaper. We'll see. Oh, by the way, I actually got some samples from my material supplier. You can actually see this is the material I used today, TP Shore 60. Like, see how much it wobbles. But comparing, this is Shore 30 that I want to use. This is much more flexible, and it's much easier to bend it, and it feels actually, yeah, feels like a gum. So I really want to try that one. And this is the Shore 60 again. Can't really bend it that much. Well, can't stretch it that much. But of course it is bending easily and, yeah, compressing. Actually quite funny. This is Shore 12. This is like a jelly. Quite funny material actually. I think they told me that it is possible to get this TP in Shore 0, which will be like a lot like a gel, so almost like a water. But yeah, a lot of things to experiment, and but it just takes time, because yeah, every time I'm thinking about some other materials I have to order it. That takes time, and of course ordering prototypes is minimum 25 kilograms, which costs money again and again. So all my money that I'm getting from my work is basically get invested into here again. So I really hope one day all this fund will be paid back. But we'll see. At least it's an experience, and I really enjoy making videos and explaining what I'm doing. So yeah. I think that was it for today. I'll keep you guys posted whenever whenever there will be more news. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you want to know anything in particular. I actually started one thread on the Russian forum, so there might be some Russian guys who are watching these videos right now. And please let me know if you would like to see those videos in Russian as well, because now I'm just trying to be more international. And then if there'll be more Russian subscribers, then I'll be making those videos in Russian, or maybe both English and Russian, so that everybody is happy. But yeah, let me know in the comment section, and then please subscribe for my channel, and yeah, have a nice day guys. See ya.